Get your shit in order. This talks about the first year of our company. We started as Oravel, which was an open marketplace, very similar to Airbnb. When we were doing that, I spent close to 3.5 months, absolutely every day, staying in new bed and breakfasts, guest houses, hotels, and so on and so forth. The intention behind it was saying that I had finished 12th grade and I had time before I started university. And that's the time when you're building a company, which is a good thing to do. But I felt I'd travel as much as possible. That's what people like to do during that period. I remember even when people join new companies, the first thing they do is, I'll go to Leh for 10 days before I start work. We didn't have the budgets of going to Leh, so I spent 3 months going and traveling and staying at some of the most affordable accommodations in the country. Realized that predictability was a big challenge, and after which we started OYO. Now coming into the story, the company's genesis goes back to the mid of 2013, which is when I came back from a lot of these visits and felt it was time to solve the problem of predictability and trust, which was a large challenge that we were seeing every day. How did we think about solving it? So we went to a hotel partner which I had stayed at. He had close to 15 rooms, and of these 15 rooms, he used to fill 2 of them. As many of you know about how the hospitality industry in India works, there are close to 45 lakh rooms that exist in the unbranded category in India. This entire category is owned by people who have a different full-time business. They just had enough cash to be able to build an asset, and their intention is with this asset, they would probably like to generate value by selling it 10 years from now. So they want to make enough money to pay for their operational costs, which also they were not able to. So my deal to the first partner, Mr. Rajesh Yadav, great friend, his property unit number is a part of our conference room naming system at our office. The offer to him was business 101. It was like normal dhanda, right? Which was, nafa hua to dono ka, nuksan hua to mera. He said this was the best deal, right? Like he said, मतलब आप जैसे लोग हमारे पास पहले क्यों नहीं आते थे? Because he felt young boy, शायद पापा के पैसे हैं, 2-4 महीने जलाएगा और भाग जाएगा यहाँ से. So that's how our deal started. Because he had no belief that this hotel could make any revenue at all. 15-room property, terrible shape. I started going to Sadar Bazaar, which is what every small or big city has in themselves, which is like the local market, and bought things which were very, very cheap, begged, borrowed, stole, and did everything possible. In 35,000 rupees, got the property to some basic condition, which is deep cleaning ho gaya, removed a bunch of furniture which was not required and was terrible, and so on. And put the OYO signage on it. It was called the OYO in Huda City Center. It used to be called Inns earlier. Over time, it's changed. For close to 3.5 months, I used to do absolutely everything at the hotel. I was the guy who was transforming the hotel. I was the guy who was doing F&B. I was the guy who was doing front office work. I was the guy who was spending time with the guests and so on. The reason I say this is every time when you're building a company, you have to be the first subject matter expert. There is no option but that. I have seen the best consumer leaders in the world. They know their customer like no one else. It is because they are so related to them. We started with close to 20% occupancy. We sold that room nights at rupees 999, and that became almost like a big thing, right? In a week, the property was selling 90% plus in occupancy. Companies started lining up. Okay, lining up saying that they want to get all their employees come in and stay. Which is the second learning, that is always work hard to make sure that your product market fit is well managed. That one property, occupancy of 90%, owner making more money, and brand being out there were the 3 things that we felt were those little basics that we had to set before we could go and sign up more properties. So we started getting at least 6 to 7 calls a day saying, "Hamari bhi property laga do ji." Best time ever. We were like,